Today I'm celebrating Jim Carrey, a man who's very easy to celebrate because he has brought so much humour to the world. His story is so fascinating. A man who was struggling to break into Hollywood as an actor and played a mental trick with himself by writing himself a check for $10 million long before any actor had ever been paid $10 million for any role whatsoever. And then, of course, some years later, he did find himself receiving a check for $10 million, the first time any actor had ever been paid for so much. And it was for the role of Dumb and Dumber, which, well, it doesn't sound like it was such a dumb thing to have spent so many years caressing this tattered and battered check for $10 million that he really held to him as something that he would one day finally realise. Apparently he used to travel down to Hollywood Boulevard with his check regularly to really put himself in the place of someone who was going to succeed in his world. Now, is he just the one person that has employed such methods and has managed to succeed? Who knows, but there's definitely something very magic about that. And his humour, his unbridled craziness has just had people in stitches around the world for years, and he continues to. He then also showed that he was able to be a much more profound actor than just making people laugh, and the roles that he played in The Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind, and there are so many films that have not just made people laugh but touched them in very, very profound ways that I think it would be, it's funny to celebrate actors because obviously as actors they are just playing a role, so we're not necessarily celebrating their personal qualities, their inherent qualities, although one could argue that you couldn't play such a good role as an actor if you hadn't been through a serious process of self-knowledge. It's the ability to understand oneself that enables us to play effectively parts for other people. And yet, his own personal story has just continued to evolve through time. His discovery of, let's say, a spiritual reality through his own practice of meditation, and his ability to and his willingness to speak out on subjects that made him a figure of great controversy, that threatened his career. Long after he needed to actually probably ever make another dollar through the rest of his life. And yet his reputation is something that can be extremely important to, all people, but especially actors. And to be willing to throw in that widespread acceptance, especially as a comedy actor, to be willing to risk all of that to speak truth in the face of great condemnation is something that I admire immensely. He has in later years taken to expressing himself through artwork, and I think his artwork is really quite beautiful. It's so colourful, so animated, touches on profound themes, and there's a real envy that someone can, spend their life making so much money through their acting and then immediately turn their hand to artwork, and, because of who they are as a celebrated actor, be able to sell their work for so much money. It's quite amazing to see. It's the cause of much jealousy, I'm sure, in the hearts of many artists around the world. And yet, that's not really the point. He's someone who enjoys what he does, and that's what people buy into. He enjoyed acting, and that's what came across, the sincerity and the beauty of what he was transmitting. One of the great films that I think he recorded, well, of course, The Truman Show is an absolute legend of a film. I really hope that you've watched it. But then, of course, the portrayal that he did, which I don't know if that was truly method acting, but when he got into the skin of Andy Kaufman, That was an absolutely amazing portrayal of a very unusual character that's difficult to understand anyway, and he really seemed to do that role great justice. So for many, many reasons, today I wish to celebrate Jim Carrey. I think he holds a light for many of us to aspire to attaining, or at least benefiting from from what he has illuminated through his personal path. So today I'm celebrating Jim Carrey.